Layering is one of those concepts everyone has heard of, but very few people actually use correctly. Most of the time, it turns into something simple and intuitive. Put on more clothes and hope for the best. And in mild weather, that might work. But in real cold, it often doesn't. Many people notice that they own enough warm clothing, yet still feel cold after spending time outside. The same jacket, the same sweaters. Sometimes they feel fine, sometimes they don't. This inconsistency usually isn't about temperature alone. It's about how the layers work together. Layering isn't about piling clothes on top of each other. It's about giving each layer a clear role. One layer manages moisture. Another traps air. Another controls wind and weather. When these roles are mixed up or skipped, the system stops working, no matter how many layers you're wearing. In this video, we'll look at the best way to layer clothes for real cold. Not in a technical or extreme way, and not focused on specific gear. Just a clear explanation of how layering actually works, why certain combinations fail, and how to use the clothes you already have more effectively when temperatures really drop. Layering is a system, not a stack. The biggest mistake people make with layering is treating it like a pile. When it's cold, they simply add more clothes. Another sweater, another hoodie, thicker socks. The outfit becomes heavier, bulkier, but not necessarily warmer. That's because layering only works when each layer has a specific function. When layers are added randomly, they start interfering with each other. Air can't stay still, moisture can't escape properly, and insulation gets compressed instead of doing its job. The result is often discomfort rather than warmth. A good layering system works like a chain. If one link fails, the whole system weakens. You can have a warm jacket, but if the layers underneath trap moisture, you'll still feel cold. You can have great insulation, but if wind moves freely through the outer layer, heat escapes anyway. Stacking clothes also creates uneven warmth. Some areas become overheated, while others stay cold. Fabric bunches up in certain spots and stretches in others. Movement becomes restricted, which makes it harder for your body to regulate temperature naturally. Thinking of layering as a system changes the approach completely. Instead of asking, what else can I add? You start asking, what is each layer doing? Once every layer has a clear role and works with the others, you often need fewer clothes, and feel significantly warmer in real cold conditions. The base layer, managing moisture first. In real cold, the base layer isn't there to keep you warm. Its main job is to keep you dry. This sounds counterintuitive, but moisture control is one of the most important parts of staying warm. Your body produces sweat even when it's freezing outside. Walking, carrying bags, climbing stairs, or simply wearing too many layers can all cause moisture to build up. If that moisture stays against your skin, it starts pulling heat away almost immediately. A good base layer moves moisture away from your skin, so it can evaporate or spread out into the outer layers. When this happens, your skin stays relatively dry, and your body can maintain warmth much more easily. When it doesn't happen, you feel warm at first and then suddenly cold, even though nothing outside has changed. Many people make the mistake of choosing base layers based on thickness instead of function. A thick base layer that traps moisture can make you colder than a thin one that dries quickly. Once moisture is trapped, adding insulation on top only locks the problem in. In real cold, moisture management always comes before insulation. When your base layer does its job properly, the rest of your layers can work as intended. Without that foundation, even the best jacket and the warmest insulation struggle to keep you comfortable for long. The insulating layer, trapping still air. The insulating layer is where most people expect warmth to come from. But insulation doesn't work by generating heat. It works by trapping still air and slowing down heat loss from your body. Air is a very poor conductor of heat. When it stays still, it forms a barrier between your body and the cold outside. The role of the insulating layer is simply to hold that air in place. This is why loft matters more than thickness. A layer that looks bulky but gets compressed easily may trap less air than a lighter one that keeps its shape. Problems start when insulation is squeezed or restricted. Tight clothing, heavy backpacks, or too many layers can flatten the insulating layer, pushing the air out. Once that happens, the layer may still look warm, but its insulating ability drops significantly. Another common mistake is relying on a single thick insulating layer, instead of allowing space for air to be distributed evenly. Sometimes two lighter insulating layers create more stable air pockets than one heavy, rigid piece. This isn't about adding more clothing. It's about allowing air to stay still where it matters. When the insulating layer works properly, warmth feels even and consistent. When it doesn't, you get hot and cold spots, sudden chills, and constant discomfort. Understanding that insulation is really about air, not fabric, makes it much easier to layer effectively in real cold. The outer layer, wind and weather control. In real cold, the outer layer often matters more than people expect. Its main role isn't warmth, it's control. Specifically, control over wind, airflow, and exposure to weather. Wind is one of the fastest ways to lose heat. When moving air passes through your layers, it constantly replaces the warm air your body has already heated with cold air from outside. This process happens quietly and continuously, and no amount of insulation underneath can fully compensate for it. A proper outer layer acts as a barrier. It keeps air from moving freely in and out of your clothing system, allowing the insulating layers underneath to do their job. Without this barrier, insulation struggles to maintain stable warmth, especially when you're walking, standing in open areas, or dealing with strong gusts. The outer layer also helps manage moisture from the outside. Snow, light rain, or melting ice can soak into inner layers if they're not protected. Once moisture enters the system, heat loss accelerates quickly. Even partially damp insulation loses much of its effectiveness. Another common mistake is assuming that a thick jacket automatically provides wind protection. Many insulated jackets allow airflow through seams, fabric, or loose openings. In real cold, it's not how padded the jacket looks, it's how well it controls air movement. When the outer layer blocks wind and shields against moisture, everything underneath becomes more effective. Without it, even a well-layered outfit can feel cold and unreliable in real winter conditions. Common layering mistakes in real cold. Many layering problems don't come from lack of clothing, but from small mistakes that quietly reduce how well the system works. These issues are easy to overlook, especially because they feel logical at first. One common mistake is wearing too many layers at once. When layers become bulky and tight, they compress insulation and limit air pockets. Instead of trapping warmth, the outfit becomes stiff and less effective. Movement increases moisture, and that moisture has nowhere to go. Another mistake is mixing up the order of layers. If moisture-trapping fabrics sit too close to the skin, sweat stays inside the system. If insulating layers are placed outside a loose or leaky outer layer, wind quickly disrupts the trapped air. Even good materials fail when they're used in the wrong position. Poor coverage in key areas is also common. Gaps around the neck, wrists, or lower back allow heat to escape continuously. People often focus on the torso and forget how much warmth is lost through these smaller zones. Finally, many people rely on one very warm item to do all the work. A heavy jacket or thick sweater can't compensate for missing wind control, poor moisture management, or compressed insulation underneath. In real cold, layering works best when mistakes are removed rather than when more clothing is added. Fixing these small issues often leads to immediate improvement, without changing what you own. How to adjust layering without changing your wardrobe. You don't need new clothes to layer better for real cold. In most cases, the fix is about reordering, adjusting, and simplifying what you already have. Start by rethinking the order of your layers. Make sure the layer closest to your skin focuses on keeping you dry, not warm. If you notice moisture building up, slightly reduce insulation or open layers while moving, then close them again when you stop. This prevents sweat from becoming a problem later. Next, check how your insulating layer sits. It should feel light and uncompressed, with enough space to trap air. If it feels tight or flat, try removing one bulky item underneath rather than adding another on top. Less pressure often means more warmth. Pay attention to the outer layer. Even without buying anything new, small changes help, fully closing zippers, overlapping layers properly, and reducing loose openings around the neck and hem. Blocking air movement often brings an immediate improvement. Fit adjustments matter too. Smooth out bunch fabric, avoid tight combinations that restrict movement, and aim for even coverage. The goal is consistent warmth, not maximum thickness. Once you treat your clothes as a coordinated system instead of separate items, they start working together. Real warmth comes from balance, dry skin, still air, and controlled airflow. And when those pieces are in place, the clothes you already own are usually enough, even in real cold.